For what purpose does the gentleman from Michigan seek recognition?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have an amendment at the desk.
The clerk will designate the amendment.
Amendment number 1, printed in Part D of House Report number 118-108, offered by Mr. Huizenga of Michigan.
Pursuant to House Resolution 495, the gentleman from Michigan, Mr. Huizenga, and a member opposed, each will control 5 minutes. The chair recognizes the gentleman from Michigan.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I rise today in support of my amendment to require the Secretary of Energy to disclose certain stakeholder meetings with any entity that has, 1, ties to the People's Republic of China or the Chinese Communist Party, 2, has produced studies regarding or has advocated for policies to limit, restrict, or ban the use of any type of energy, and 3, has applied for or received federal funds. We have recently seen concerning examples of anti-energy, China-connected entities receiving not just elevated access to the White House and federal agencies, but granting of funds as well. Literally, we have been using taxpayer dollars, U.S. taxpayer dollars, to help fund them. So I introduced this amendment because the Biden administration has not been transparent about who it has been meeting with. And frankly, I believe this administration has not been honest with the American people about its desire to ban gas stoves. In February of this year, it was widely reported that a government watchdog group obtained information through the Freedom of Information Act revealing a private meeting between the Secretary of Energy and a group that would be covered by this amendment. In particular, this group has been on the forefront of the effort to ban gas stoves. Unsurprisingly, when I sent a letter to Secretary Granholm in February, inquiring whether she was aware of this group's ties to China and the extent of their influence on the department, I received a letter back. However, it was completely ignoring my questions and my concerns. I have to give you a little bit of perspective, Mr. Chairman. My family's been involved in construction for over 3 generations, and I fully understand the needs that people have at various levels in their homes, in their businesses. And don't get me wrong, I mean, we're talking about gas stoves today, and don't get me wrong, there's nothing inherently wrong with electric stoves. That oftentimes fits very nicely. Same thing with electric base heat, or water heaters, et cetera, et cetera. Well, there are certain regions of the country, like in Michigan and the upper Midwest, where we are very dependent on propane and natural gas. And we don't have the electric grid to support an expansion of that. And I know the other side will say, nobody's going to pull your stove out of your house yet. Nobody's doing anything other than just stoves yet. But we know that places like California, New York, and even in Michigan, the city of Ann Arbor, have gone in and have literally banned the addition of and use of gas stoves. And they're looking to expand that. They've talked about that. So the real rub here, Mr. Speaker or Mr. Chairman, is that we have a major problem with questionable groups with established connections to China, where they have those established connections, but we're not sure what their unanswered intentions might be. They're succeeding in influencing policy to limit affordable appliance options for Americans. So when President Biden or Senate Majority Leader Schumer are telling the American people that no one is going after their stoves, they may be technically correct today, Mr. Chairman, but in the broader picture, we know that that may be coming. And I have to say that it's one thing for elected officials to be going after a particular appliance or source of energy, but we have a real problem when Washington bureaucrats, unelected bureaucrats, aren't being honest about their end goal, and they are the ones making the rules and the regulations. And a ban on gas stoves is going to cost the taxpayers. It is going to cost hardworking, honest working Americans more, already in an inflationary heightened situation. That's why I wanted to bring this amendment. I appreciate the author's acceptance of this and understanding of where we were trying to go with this. And at the end of the day, Mr. Chairman, my amendment is simply to bring an added dose of transparency, expose connections to the CCP, which I truly, honestly believe that both sides of the aisle have concerns about the tentacles of the CCP and the Chinese government and the influence that it has gained here in the United States. That's why on the Financial Services Committee that I serve on, we have done CFIUS reviews, which is going after making sure that it's property and technology and other things that we are protecting from our adversaries like China. So why would we hand over the keys to this particular kingdom? I don't understand. But we need to let the American people know that who is truly influencing our government, and that exposure is there. So I urge my colleagues to support the amendment, and I reserve the balance of my time.
Gentleman's time has expired.